D.C., December 16th, 2017. After a decade of speculation within the UFO community, officials at the Pentagon confirmed the existence of a highly secretive UFO research project known as the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP. The project was funded by Congress in 2007 with the help of Senator Harry Reid of Nevada.
What's different about the ATIP program is the fact that it involved a private company, Bigelow Aerospace. This has never been done before. The government previously has always kept all of its UFO extraterrestrial information, all of its reports, completely separately. So that makes it very, very unique and very different from Projects Sign and Blue Book. The Pentagon ran this program officially from 2007 to 2012, although there's a lot of reason to believe that the program not only has continued, but that multiple programs of this sort have continued.
But why would the U.S. government allow such sensitive research to take place outside of its secure military facilities? According to ancient astronaut theorists, the answer is all too obvious.
Over the years, the government realized if you can take projects that we're developing and move them from inside the Pentagon itself and move them into industry, guess what you get to avoid? Freedom of information.
Inside the government, the military, Department of Defense, the scientists and engineers there possibly susceptible to the Freedom of Information Act. People can fill out a Freedom of Information Act form and request information on any government program. Well, private companies are not susceptible. They don't have to adhere to the Freedom of Information Act. So the big aerospace defense companies, for example, can do their own research in their own private facilities, and they never have to tell you anything about that if they don't want to.
And when you look at the exemptions to the Freedom of Information Act, exemption number 4 covers trade secrets, information which belongs to the private sector. So when the government put out some of their UFO programs to Bigelow Aerospace, what they were doing cleverly was making scrutiny much more difficult.
And we know from Luis Elizondo, the program manager of the ATIP program, that they received a number of shocking UFO cases that came their way in connection with the U.S. military. The word he used was beyond next generation technology.
According to sources within the ATIP program, the government secretly collects materials, often referred to as metamaterials, from extraterrestrial crash sites, and then turns them over to be reverse engineered by approved contractors, like those at Bigelow Aerospace.
Metamaterials are materials that have been combined in such a way that the isotopic ratios of the materials are not found on planet Earth.
I worked with some of these artifacts. I put them through various tests. There was nothing unusual about the materials they were made of, but they were layered in such a way that it took some doing to make them in their configuration. And also, the interesting piece of it was when you put them under extremely high electric fields, they tend to show properties of propulsion, meaning they would move in directions sometimes toward the field, sometimes away from the field, that wasn't typical of standard electrostatic things that I had seen before.
What metamaterials will do is they will alter electromagnetic frequencies or the visual spectrum. They can bend light if they're engineered in such a way. And they can change acoustic properties. And the imagination is the limit. So they can really do almost anything.
Is the government's increasing use of outside agencies and contractors designed to throw UFO investigators and ancient astronaut theorists off? And if so, does that mean that infamous top-secret sites like Area 51 and its alleged underground network of covert laboratories and military installations will soon be obsolete? Ancient astronaut theorists say U.S. Air Force announces that SpaceX, an aerospace company run by billionaire CEO Elon Musk, is now eligible to participate in the launch of military satellites. The announcement leads many to speculate whether SpaceX may be contracted in the future for additional and perhaps even more covert military space projects.
In 2015, SpaceX, which is a private corporation, of course, was actually certified by the U.S. government for national security launches into space. And what that means is you've now got another private corporation which is authorized to actually put secret payloads into orbit. What that means is that their entire operation now kind of flows under the dark umbrella of national security.
It's possible that the private ventures like SpaceX, like Bigelow Aerospace, and the various others will come up with a way to make it economically viable to colonize Mars.
For decades, ever since the first Earth satellites and rovers began sending back data about the so-called Red Planet, Mars has been the focus of intense scrutiny by ancient astronaut theorists. They cite images of structures, carvings, and other strange anomalies as evidence that Mars was, and might still be, a hub of extraterrestrial activity. Is it possible that the U.S. government, along with other nations, has proof that such an audacious notion is true? And could this be the reason why the human-based Mars missions are being conducted not by publicly funded governments, but by a number of privately funded corporations with their own seemingly disparate agendas?
I'm extremely familiar with this technique, and it's one of the ways that you protect classified information and big secrets. You can have a highly classified project, but effectively it's broken into small parts. Everyone's working on a piece of it. No one necessarily knows what the person next door to them is doing, and very few people have the big picture. It's a world that I've operated in myself in my 21 years at the Ministry of Defense. It's even possible that somebody could be working on extraterrestrial technology and not know it.
We're on the cusp of a brand new reality of the super advanced technology that we see colonizing the moon, Mars,
times we throw around the words awesome or monumental, and we don't really think about these words, but when you stand in front of the Great Pyramid, the word awesome is in fact true. There are more than 2 million limestone blocks, each weighing thousands of pounds. The pyramid is aligned perfectly to the cardinal points of the compass, north, south, east, and west, suggesting that its builders possessed extraordinary geographical knowledge. According to mainstream Egyptologists, the Great Pyramid was built by the pharaoh Khufu, who reigned from 2589 to 2566 BC during the fourth dynasty of the Old Kingdom. But this notion is hotly contested, as it is based entirely on a single and very controversial discovery. In 1837, Dutch explorer Richard Howard Weiss claimed to have found the name of Khufu graffitied onto a stone roof of a chamber inside the pyramid. However, it was later discovered that Weiss had written in his private journal that he found nothing in the chamber that looked like hieroglyphics. Some modern researchers suspect it may have been a forgery by Weiss's team to ensure that his expensive expedition was considered a rousing success.
One of the problems with Egyptology is that it's something that started in the late 1800s, and a lot of it is sort of solidified within the university system. But Egyptologists and archaeologists and geologists are discovering new things about Egypt all of the time that completely shakes the foundations of what they thought they knew about ancient Egypt. We're even finding their structures in Egypt much older than what the mainstream Egyptians would say.
As far as ancient astronaut theorists and a number of prominent archaeologists are concerned, the Great Pyramid was likely built long before the reign of Khufu. There are some who believe the colossal structure could even be more than 10,000 years old, and date back to a period predating that of the Great Flood.
This literally is the most magnificent of all of them. This not is what you're seeing here. This is what you're about to see. This is what's inside. Let's go.
As they rise within the newly discovered void in the Great Pyramid, will reveal not only incredible truths about ancient Egypt, but about the history of humankind. Could there be clues that reveal that Egypt was once home to an extraterrestrial civilization? During his first visit to Egypt in nearly 2 decades, ancient astronaut theorist Georgios Tsoukalos is eager to find out about a recent discovery concerning a possible hidden chamber located deep inside the walls of the Great Pyramid of Giza.
This way.
With him are Egyptologist Rami Ramani and archaeoastronomer Dr. Giulio Magli. They are making their way to what is called the Grand Gallery, which can only be reached after walking up a 200-foot-long passageway. Directly above their heads is the area where an international team of scientists believe they may have located an enormous hidden chamber, more than 100 feet long.
This is it. The Grand Gallery. You look at this and you think they made this more than 4,000 years ago. They actually built this. This is incredible. From here to the ceiling is about 10 meters high, and it goes about 50 meters in, which is 150 feet deep. And that just gives you an idea of how huge this place is. And it's perfect. The blocks, they fit together, and no mortar was used, and you can't even put a money bill in between the fittings. And this is what type of stone that we're looking at in here. Unlike the rest of the pyramid, this is red granite.
Red granite, right?
Red granite doesn't come from the local area like limestone does.
Comes from Australia.
So that's 1,000 kilometers, 1,000 miles
system, and he was about fertility and defining that as a god of the earth, and died and was reborn in his son Horus. So you have this cycle of death and rebirth, and this is part of the Book of the Dead. So the Pharaoh, the king, would die and be resurrected.
According to the story, Osiris had an iron throne that was coveted by many who sought to possess its awesome powers. One of these was Osiris's brother Set, who murdered Osiris in an effort to obtain the throne.
Throughout ancient Egypt in the temples, we see depictions of the gods, extraterrestrial beings, on their thrones. These thrones are feathered because they are ascension vehicles. They are vehicles that take them to the stars and back.
I think it's very possible that the throne is in that void. When we found this pyramid, there was no mummy. There were no treasures, no nothing, no hieroglyphs, nothing. What if all this that we're looking at is a deep hole?
You just raised a very interesting point. The fact that we've come so far into this chamber and the entire way, not a single hieroglyphic, because throughout the rest of Egypt, the walls are plastered with inscriptions telling the story of how it was built and by whom and when. Yet here, so far, complete anonymity.
Absolutely. Because the walls inside the Great Pyramid contain no hieroglyphics, and there is no evidence that the colossal structure was ever used as a tomb or temple, there has been increasing speculation as to its original purpose. One theory, held by numerous scientists and archaeoengineers, is that the pyramid, and others like it, may have been built as one in an enormous network of power plants.
Christopher Dunn's theories indicate that some of these pyramids had chemicals mixed in them. And in fact, studies of his working devices have shown that this probably would work.
Pyramids were actually geomechanical devices. In other words, they were attached to the earth. They were tuned to vibrate with the frequencies of the earth, and they converted the energies of the earth into electromagnetic energy. The best example of this is in the Great Pyramid. It's probably the most precise structure on the planet.
According to Christopher Dunn's theory, the process of generating energy began with drawing water from the nearby Nile River to the base of the Great Pyramid.
Right in front of the door of the entrance door of the Great Pyramid, there used to be a well shaft, which was documented in 1857. And so the water would just gravity feed down into basically a moat around the Great Pyramid and then go down the entrance shaft down into the ground. The water